Lara sits by the fire on an outcrop in Peru, having just survived a nasty mauling from 2 jaguars. You can assume from context that she's hurt, and her best friend who sits less than 6 feet away remarks on it, but her face is stony. She hasn't spoken a word since the attack. She's frustrated, annoyed at having her momentum halted, irritated at the roadblock. She's angry, and even her compassionate nature can't break through the wall of rage she's built up in her clashes with Trinity. Lara is looking to get her hands on an artifact before they do, and is doing anything she can to cripple the organization. When she's asked by a skeptical local why it's so important to her to keep the artifact from Trinity, she tells her that they are dangerous. It's the same reasoning she's been using for her entire journey, but now it comes off as a hollow explanation from a woman who has nothing left but her thirst for vengeance. Having watched the credits roll on Lara's last 2 adventures, it's hard not to feel both fond and protective of her. Her drive is admirable and her passion for archaeology is unparalleled, but it's hard to ignore the emptiness under the surface of her actions. In the early hours of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Lara frequently ignores her basic needs, her wounds, and even the well-being of those around her if they threaten to slow her down. She diverts queries about her injuries with explanations of her discoveries without missing a beat, constantly seeking the next step in her investigation. At this point, Lara is running on sheer resolve. A new study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences journal suggests that meaning in one's life may be healthier than happiness. If this is the case, Lara is well on her way to being the poster child. She's clearly not a happy person, but having lost almost everyone close to her, it isn't hard to imagine why. That said, she seems to be losing grip on the meaning in her life as well. In the first game, Lara was a victim of circumstance, a survivor. In Rise of the Tomb Raider, she was prepared, an adventurer searching for the final piece of the puzzle from her father's last mission. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Lara is single-minded, reckless, and lethal. Throughout the previous game, Lara showed a willingness to put her mission aside if it meant lives would be saved. As she watches a young boy fall from a building in her latest mission as a result of a disaster she may have put in motion, it's clear she's no longer concerned with how her actions affect others. When she escapes the tsunami, her companion Jonah insists they stay behind to help the survivors. But Lara is steadfast to the point of obstinate that her mission to stop Trinity comes first. Early on in the lengthy gameplay demo, Lara has a moment of hesitation before removing a priceless and foreboding dagger from a tomb. What follows is one of the few breaks in her resolve, a simple, "What have I done?" Her dogged pursuit of Trinity also enables her to ignore what all these missions and all this murder is doing to her mental stability. Towards the end of Rise of the Tomb Raider, the cries from Trinity soldiers change from the assumption that they can take her out easily to phrases like, "We're stuck in here with her." Lara's reputation carries through into Shadow, where enemies are more panicked in her presence.
Scout team, Croft is on a vector towards your position. I say again, Croft is coming to you.
Jesus Christ. Shh. We'll get her, sir.
Her fighting style has also changed significantly to reflect the way she has shut out aspects of her humanity and adopted an icy resolve. While still perfectly capable with a gun, Lara has adopted a dirtier approach where she will hide in vegetation walls or slather herself in mud to strike without warning. Her new attacks are brutal, animalistic, and underhanded. One such ability lets her string an enemy up by hanging them from a tree branch with a rope arrow. After killing 2 Trinity soldiers, she wonders aloud what they're so afraid of. The what she's referring to is a mysterious violent tribe in the jungle, but it's hard to ignore the irony given it's her arrows sticking out of their skulls.
Where are you? What are they so afraid of?
Upon encountering this tribe at the end of the gameplay demo, she shoots on sight. There's enough doubt to suggest they are as dangerous as she assumes, but her lack of hesitation is a stark contrast to the young woman who, a year prior, broke down after wrestling a gun from an attacker and shooting him to save herself. After she refuses to aid the injured civilians, Jonah yells at Lara, telling her that not everything is about her. This is directly after she faces the leader of Trinity, who accuses her of unleashing a tragedy, and realizes she has done exactly as she feared her enemy would have. An understated comment that stuck with me, though, is a description of Lara uttered by a Trinity soldier in one of the first scenes of the game.
You have the photo. Female, Caucasian, early 20s.
Lara is admirable and intelligent and a total badass, but she's also incredibly young. And while her circumstances aren't relatable, her age is. Like anyone in their early 20s, it's not so much the mistakes she's making now and the things that have happened to her, but the way she decides to respond going forward, how she reflects on herself, and if she repositions her priorities, that will define the person she becomes in the final chapter of her journey.
What will I become?